Hey everybody, Christopher is still apparently out in the middle of no man's land, so you're all stuck with me for a few minutes while we get this thing going. I hope everybody's having a good night tonight, and I just want to remind everybody to please, if you haven't already, do the YouTube thing. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and we'll get the show on the road. Christopher had planned tonight to have on a special guest, and that guest is with us now. And since he's here and Christopher's not, I said, screw it, we're going. So everybody, I'd like you to welcome in Councilman Ryan Webb. I know that you guys had a budget work meeting over there in Delaware County this week.
Yes, we did. We had a pre-budget meeting. We're actually going to have our budget meeting starting next week on Wednesday. It's going to be a grinder. It's going to be about 12 to 14 hour day on Wednesday, probably same on Thursday. And we usually try to wrap it up on Friday, but it could be eight to 10 hours as well. So what we had this past Tuesday was what we like to call a pre-budget meeting. Many of you know that 5 out of the 7 council members are new. Only myself and Council President Piper has experience with the budget meetings. So what we did on Tuesday was we had a pre-budget meeting, and that was about 4 hours, from about 3 o'clock to a little after 7.
I have a question how things work, because I know down in Henry County, they had for 2 or 3 weeks leading up to the actual budget meeting, they have what they call work meetings. Budget work meetings where they met with each of the department heads, talked about their individual budgets and things. So is that the way things work in Delaware County?
You could probably call it that. I mean, it's just a different terminology, but it's basically the same thing. I personally, as a councilman, try to make it a habit to meet with multiple department heads. Sometimes I reach out to them, sometimes they reach out to me, and we have one-on-one private meetings, and they just kind of go over with me what they're hoping to get out of their budget. They may want to explain some of the increases that they're turning in. So yeah, that's pretty much kind of what it was. The idea behind it was we took the 4 biggest departments. Basically, the commissioners and the sheriff's department is 50% of the entire county budget. So we wanted to get the sheriff's department, the commissioners, I believe the courts and the prosecutor was in there as well, along with the 911 center. They kind of did a little bit of presentation and allowed council members to, ask them some questions, to let them explain a few things to help expedite the issue when we get started on Tuesday.
Okay. And so that was this past week as part of this pre-budget meeting that you were doing?
It was the first time. This is my 3rd year on the council. We've not done that before, but as you know, in previous until this year, I mean, we had 20-year veterans on the council. Ron Quakenbush had been in local politics 40 years. Jane Lassiter, the late Jane, rest her soul. She was on the council and in local government for many years. Same with Mary Chambers. And so there was a lot of experience there. I was pretty much the only new guy. And they just kind of threw me in and had me learn as I go. Nobody really ever gave me a crash course on anything. So being that 5 out of the 7 is brand new, I guess Council President Piper decided that this was something we needed to do.
Okay. Got a question here. Does the commissioner's budget cover the highway department? Is that part of the commissioner's budget there?
No, the highway department has their own budget. There's actually 2 different budgets with the highway department, similar to what the 911 is. You've got your regular budget, and then you've got these restricted fees budget. So half of the highway department budget can only be spent on certain things. And it can be very complicated if you're a new council member, because a lot of the salaries for some of the employees are split up amongst the 2 budgets. So you may see $20,000 in this budget for this particular employee, and then 30 pages later you see another $20,000 for that same employee. And it's just a way that we've done over the years of kind of spreading the money around, to be fair. But so no, it's not necessarily part of the commissioner's budget.
Okay, because I know here that the commissioners tend to be the ones that handle anything doing with the highway department. They go to the commissioners for that. And Joey Simpson here is saying that the commissioners get to control the highway budget down where he's at as well. So just trying to clarify exactly how things work in Delaware County. So you haven't done these pre-budget meetings in the past, really?
In my experience, I haven't. They may have done them in the past, but for me, I've never seen it done.
Okay, and you've been on, this is your third year. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. No.
Okay. All right. So how did the meeting go?
Well, it was to be expected. There was a lot of questions. These guys are, and just real quick, let me clarify a couple things. Number one, I'm in a hotel room in Michigan, so I don't have my budget book with me. So whatever information I give you is going to be based off of my memory from looking at the book. Number two, in addition to having these 5 new council members, we also have a longtime deputy auditor, Donna. I think Donna Wilkins is her last name. Donna retired. Donna was like a huge asset. She was full of knowledge, and she kind of was like the glue keeping these budget meetings together. She kept them running smooth. So in addition to having these new council members, we had a new deputy auditor who's running a budget meeting for the very first time. This deputy auditor, her name is Tanya. She had made a couple tweaks and changes to the book, the budget book. In my opinion, improvements. But it can be tricky if you're not an experienced council member such as myself. It's a little tricky to follow if you're someone brand new. So this pre-budget meeting was pretty needed, and I assume that it's going to be a lot of questions. That's what we just had. We're going to have a lot of questions from these council members, and to their credit, I got to give them credit. In the past, too many of our council members just kind of went along with whatever was being said. Not this council. I mean, these guys are asking questions. They're asking questions on every request. If they don't get the answer they're looking for, they ask the question again, and they don't let these guys just dance around the question. This is what we need,
so give it to us.
Yeah, they or they'll say, you know what, I heard your answer, but I don't think I quite understood it, and they repeat the question. So we're gonna have a long, slow, and steady pace for the week. I took the entire week of work off. I'm off all next week. Won't get a paycheck because I know that we're going to be 12, 14 hours a day, every day.
Okay.
And that's now, budget meetings.
Was the meeting, the pre-budget meeting, was it live streamed?
Well, unfortunately it wasn't. And, we started passed the resolution to live stream our budget meetings along with every other meeting, and I was under the impression that it was going to be live streamed. I was running a little late. I came into the meeting about 45 minutes late, coming from out of town, and when I got there, I realized that it actually was not being live streamed. Now I don't know why. We still made motions. We didn't make decisions, but there was still a motion to open the meeting, a motion to close the meeting. So it was still a documented meeting. So I don't know why it wasn't recorded, but hopefully next week it is. Well, it should be next week.
Well, they only have a couple of years when they're going to be mandated that it will be live streamed.
Well, we actually passed a resolution in the last council meeting. I've been pushing for this for the last multiple months, actually the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I was blessed to be able to convince several of my council members, and we actually voted in favor of it 6-1. Passed the last council meeting. So this will be live streamed starting now. I don't know why it wasn't Tuesday. Maybe they don't consider it budget meeting because it was a pre-budget meeting. I'm not sure. But as of starting Wednesday, yeah, I was disappointed. But as of Wednesday, it will be live streamed. If it doesn't, you can guarantee I'll pull my phone out just like I did last year, and I'll live stream it from my council seat just like I have before.
Well, it's important for transparency to have that thing, live streamed. So we've just been going over a little bit, Kristopher, about what's been going on this past week. Oh, and we've lost Ryan.
That's all right. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I bumped it. I bumped my setup here. Sorry.
You're all right.
So we've just been talking about, that they had the meeting this week.
How long you been on with him? How long you been on?
About 10 minutes.
Okay.
So
I don't know.
I'm gonna pop off, and you
You're
guys
fine.
can chat. And I appreciate everybody's patience in the audience watching tonight, waiting for
Yeah.
us to go live with Kristopher and his buttfuck Egypt issue and whatever. But we'll see y'all later. I'll be down here keeping
Yeah.
Thank you.
track of your comments and stuff. Thank you, Councilman Ryan, for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Hey, I'm in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and I know it's going to be a little dark in here. I apologize. But the main thing is that we're going to be able to hear, you guys are going to be able to hear what's going on. So, again, the plan was for me to come on while I was driving. Every now and then I'll do these while I'm driving. I don't look at the screen or whatnot. I'm just here talking, so it's no different than having somebody in the car. I apologize for everybody in the audience. I won't be looking at any comments or anything like that, obviously, because I'm driving. We've got the funeral tomorrow, so and it's like the showing and all of that is way early. So instead of having to do this in the morning, we decided to try to drive up tonight, and so I should have came up a little bit earlier, but I had different things I had to do. So then I got up here, and the way that we always come, the way I've been coming my entire life up here, is under construction. So it was a big ordeal, and they had I had to go out into the country. It's the middle of nowhere. So this has been a disaster. And then I couldn't connect to anything. So I'm glad that Councilor Webb's on here. He's been trying to get a hold of me for quite some time over the last couple of days. And I've just been busy and hadn't got back with him. And he messaged tonight and said, hey, we need to talk. And I didn't know anything. I know that you guys normally do a pre-budget meeting, but I was always under the impression that those are like, they're like.
I cut out for a second. She'll be back in a minute.
Oh, goody. You get to put up with me again. I am so sorry.
I deal with it all the time, going in and out of
Oh,
service.
there he is.
Sorry, that was my fault. I'm not having an issue. I seriously hit the map. And so that was my issue. Sorry about
I was
that.
going to tell you when you said you got lost. There's an app for that. You can
it
can help you.
Good Lord. No, but so what I was saying before I rudely went away is I knew that you guys normally have a pre-budget meeting. I was always under the impression that those were like 30 minutes long, if that, and it was just a wham bam thank you ma'am, and then you guys started the deal like when you went in. So to find out that you guys actually had like how long was it?
It was over 4 hours. It started at 3. I think we adjourned at around 7:15.
That's ridiculous. I'll be honest, that pisses me off. I think it's not at you, but I think with the leadership of the council, I feel like what that sounds like, and I think what we'll go over tonight, and kind of what you were talking about. To me, it sounds like what they were attempting to do was to maybe get through some of the more crazier points that they wanted to get through that they didn't want on camera. Maybe I'm being conspiracy theory. I don't know. A conspiracy theorist, maybe that's not true. Maybe it'll all come up and it'll all be fine, but the whole point is the fact that, that's what they were doing. And you had all that craziness happen. That is exactly the kind of things, what you were describing and what we're going to talk about tonight is exactly what the public needs to hear.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, I believe the intention was valid. With the rookie council, 5 out of 7 people being brand new,
sure,
we knew there were going to be a ton of questions. I think it was meant to almost like a dry run to go through and to give these people an opportunity to get some of the big questions out of the way, so it doesn't slow us down on Wednesday. However, with that being said, I still thought it was going to be live streamed. So I was perfectly okay with the pre-budget meeting. I was a little disappointed that it wasn't live streamed because it was important. And everything that was discussed will be brought up again because we're gonna have to go through it again.
Okay.
What people don't realize a lot because they've never been live streamed is we go through that book from A to Z 5-6 times.
Yeah,
It's not
several
like we
times.
just go through it and then we're done. We're gonna get through it, start over, and do it again. And it's gonna be debating back and forth, and it's gonna be intense.
And you know, it's so amazing. I've always said I wish that I could take the way that you guys do the budget, mix it with the way that Muncie City Council runs the meetings, and then drop that in front of every other governmental official, every government body that holds meetings and does these things, and say, now this is how you should do these meetings, and this is how you should run this stuff, because you guys do the council the budget sessions probably more intense than anybody else I've seen. Maybe Henry County you know, might be up there at a close. You guys might be in first or second, but you guys have a really intense process and whatnot. So it is very good. I'm glad that all that stuff will be up. Someone's asked here in the questions. I happened to see that just when I was in a place to make a turn. The question was asked: has any department come to you guys? You know, and I know what the answer is to this, obviously, and this will be where we can start. Has anyone come to you guys? Has any department come and ask for a massive, raise in their overall budget? Has any of the department heads done that this year?
Almost every single one of them. Yes, not just a little raise, a big raise. The budget is $6 million more than the budget last year. And keep in mind, last year we had some money. Last year's budget was easy. We cut very few things out. Pretty much what everybody asked for, they got, with the exception of a few things. So this budget is $6 million more than that. So yeah, everybody's asking raises all the way from 4% to 48%.
So there's someone in government that's asking for a 48% raise.
Mm-hmm.
I just, for the life of me, I cannot get over these officials that are doing this, because that's happening in a lot of places right now. And it's very interesting. Now, I want to say, and it's something you predicted this, and I don't know if, I don't mean to steal your thunder to say this, but you predicted this. You said that your fear was, and now granted, this is the time they should ask, they need to be realistic. I mean, I could come to you and be like, I want you to give me $500 million. And you guys can be like, no, I can't do that. You know, that's stupid. But this is when they should ask. But you said with Prosecutor Hoffman coming to you, you know, that you were afraid that was kind of open the door to other people doing that. And so I think what they did is they saw that he did that. You put pressure on him when he did that. And so now everybody's like, screw it. We're just going to ask for everything.
Can you clarify something for me?
Yes,
Was the 48% increase in the budget overall, or in the specifically in raises for people?
No, the 48% increase is for one individual, going from approximately 55,000 to 80,000.
So is the $6 million more that they're asking basically all being applied on raises for salaries?
No, ma'am. The 6 million is when I say 6 million, it's the overall total budget. So generally, not excluding county general, right? County general is the fund that the county council appropriates money out of. And then there's other accounts that have 911 fees and other stuff. And in total, it's about $50 million. And this year's budget is $6 million gross total, more than last year's. And that includes people's raises. That includes people wanting to buy hire new employees. We got a lot of requests to hire new employees, which I'm really opposed to that. I don't want to grow the government any more than we need to. So yeah, everybody's taking their shot. I mean, everybody's taking a shot.
So everybody's turned in a wish list, is what it is.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they've gone, it's go big or go home.
Yeah, they've which to be fair, part of the criticism when Prosecutor Hoffman asked for those large pay increases for his deputy prosecutors, I grilled him and I said, you should have asked for this in last year's budget. He said, I turned in the pay raise that the council president asked me to turn in, which is like a 5% increase. And I said, but if it wasn't enough money, that's on you. You should have asked for the amount you wanted and then let us trim it back. So everybody heard me loud and clear. So that's what they're doing. They're taking their shot and they're putting it on us to trim it back and hurt their feelings a little bit.
I just wanted to clarify that $6 million is not going strictly to salaries. It's
no,
overall everything, all the pies that they want to put money into. Okay, thank you.
I haven't broken it down. Yeah, I haven't broken it down exactly how much is strictly salary. I've not done that. I've only opened the book just briefly to look through it a little bit. I do know it's a $6 million increase.
Well, and Ryan, the thing is, it's interesting with that because, you said something a minute ago that they're going to put it in there and it's going to be on you guys to trim it back and hurt some feelings or whatever. And I feel like that's going to be an issue, and that's an issue that a good majority of the people on this council's always had problems with. Everybody kind of feels like, oh, we're on one team, we're all teammates, this is all fun, yay. They don't realize that there is a definite separation between who people are and what the roles are. And for so long, they've tried blurring those lines. And I don't understand why everyone's always been so concerned with what Scott wanted in the past or whatever. And I get it. You want to try to work with these people, obviously. But at the end of the day, they have obligations, for their people and whatnot. And so that's what they've got to do. And, they're just going to do what they're going to do. But you guys have to do what you got to do. And you're going to have people in your council that's going to need to step up to the plate and, grow a pair or do what they got to do and stop worrying about being so nicey nice. So kind of, I want you to be able to talk and you kind of lay out what's going on here. So, are you comfortable laying out kind of what occurred or what some of the issues are that happened in this last week?
Oh, I'm absolutely comfortable. I always am. People who know me and follow me know that the majority of my support comes from the fact that I give it to you straight. I give it to you raw, regardless of your feelings. And to touch a little bit on what you just said there, my personal criticism of this council, not just the new folks, us as a whole, as the council in 2023, but my time on the council, is that we say yes way too often, and we say yes without enough scrutiny. In fact, my New Year's resolution this year coming in was to say no more often. I made a New Year's resolution. I'm going to say no more often. I'm going to say no more often in my professional life, with my team, with my children, with my wife, and I probably won't do it with my wife, but with the council. And I'm gonna say no more often. And that's what I told Eric Hoffman when he brought me in the private meeting and told me what he's requested. And I said, well, I should probably tell you this, that my New Year's resolution is to say no more often. But I'm open-minded to it. And I think that like you said, there's a lines blurred there of being like, we're all county employees, we're all team players. I don't look at it as that. I look at it as I'm the gatekeeper and I'm the goalie. You got to get past me. And I'm trying to keep you from scoring. And if you score, you score. But I'm going to try to pick apart your argument. And, I catch a lot of criticism from that, but I feel like that's our responsibility as gatekeepers and protectors of the taxpayers' money.
You're the only person. Go ahead, Kate.
We do have a question here in the comments about what's the usual increase that you've seen in the past?
That's a great question. Well, for years, before I came on, matter of fact, the first year I was on, they did it again. They did $1,000 across the board raises. And while everyone's grateful for a pay increase, I hated it. And the majority of the 500 county employees couldn't stand it either. Number one, it doesn't keep up with cost of living. I mean, it's not a raise, it's a cost of living increase, really. But more importantly, It's just a flat thing across the board. I wanted to get away from that. I wanted to focus on raising all of our county employees' pay, starting with our public safety officials. That's why we targeted so heavily on our sheriff's deputies, our correctional officers, and our 911 dispatchers last year. And that was the first time where individual departments got fairly significant raises. I'm talking some people got 15%, 9%. It varied. And I like that. And that's what we're doing this year. And I'm okay with that. But it can't be everybody all at the same time. It may be your department this year, and it may be your next door neighbor's department next year. But in a cycle, once we get 3 or 4 years through, everyone's going to have a pretty significant raise at some point. And then in the years that it's not significant, you'll have a pretty decent cost of living increase, right? What it is happening this year is everyone is taking their shot for their big increase all in 1 year. And we can't do everyone all at one time. Somebody's going to get it. Someone's going to get a pretty good raise, but it's not going to be everyone. But everyone will get something.
Now, here's the question, though. What is the total that you typically see? Because every year you're going to see the wish list coming in. You're going to see that increase of $6 million. Or, this year it's huge amount that you're seeing coming in. What have you typically seen as the total increase from budget to budget?
Well, last year,
just a ballpark,
Council President.
That was my question there.
Well, Council President Alexander last year instructed all the departments to submit a budget with a 5% increase. So everybody submitted 5%. There were a couple ones who went rogue. Well, our first pass through the book, we immediately knocked everybody down to 5%. No matter if they asked for 10, without even talking about it, we knocked them all down to 5% right off the bat. This year, it's all over the board, and not just departments, even elected officials. Elected officials always got pretty much the same percentage. Some's got 5%, some's got 4%, some's got $20,000. Like, it's crazy. It's there's nothing uniform about it. We're gonna have to literally go through it line item by line item, department by department. We're gonna have to hurt some feelings, and we're gonna have to get it in line and protect the taxpayers' money.
Absolutely. So that's the thing is they're taking a run at Jessica with Scott not being there, and Jessica maybe not saying that same thing that Scott said. They're like, all right, now's our chance. So what were some of the things that you go ahead?
Well, I was going to say that's possible. I was going to say that is possible that people are taking their shot. I think so far Jessica's done a pretty good job with it. She allows everyone opportunity to speak. She was, I called her and told her I was going to be late to the meeting, about 45 minutes, and she flat out asked me, is there a particular department that you want to make sure you're there for? Do you want me to make sure I wait on that department until you get there? And I thought that was really awesome. I've not really been extended that courtesy in the past, so I was really glad to see her extend me that courtesy, and I said no, I don't need anything specific. Cool. Yeah, just run the meeting.
Yeah, that's cool. Have you lost me, or have I lost you? Okay, there we are. Sorry.
No, I heard you. I heard you talking. You're just a little delayed. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. So the next thing that I wanted to know was, so going in there, then what's some of the biggest things that shocked you from this last meeting? I mean, what are some of the things that you're hearing that you think are going to be issues coming up in the next week?
Well, I can tell you, whenever I speak, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for the council, or I'm not speaking for anyone on the council. But for me personally, I already knew when I looked through the book, plus based off my experience from last year, there's one thing specific that I've already got a big problem with this year that I'm going to do everything I can to dismantle. And what that is some of the departments, I'm going to use the example, the commissioners. The commissioners will have a budget, and they'll have a bunch of different line items, 20 grand for this, 50 grand for that. And they'll have all of a sudden a line item that says contractual services, and it'll be like $1 million. And I asked the question, what is this? What do you do with this? And Commissioner Henry, he was the commissioner there. He said, "Well, we pay our attorney out of this. We do this, we do that, we pay this, we pay that, a bunch of random things." And I made it very clear, I'm not comfortable. And I told the whole council this. I said, we are the gatekeepers of the taxpayer dollar. We are the last line of defense. I'm not comfortable with allocating or appropriating $1 million. Just here you go. You do it as you please. And then the commissioners or any other department who has a contractual services line item, they just pay whatever they see fit out of it. I don't want to, and as I brought that up, Council President Piper said, "You want to micromanage it?" I said, "Absolutely. That's absolutely what I want to do. I want to micromanage it. I want you to tell me if you want to pay your attorney $200,000, put it in a line item. Bring me an invoice. If you want to pay a consultant $400,000 or $200,000, put it in a line item. Put it in an invoice. Don't put it all in one big lump sum and expect me to sign off on it." That's me personally. The other council members may have a different viewpoint on it, but I'm going to really be pushing back hard on that throughout this entire budget. I think that's a lazy way to appropriate money, and we get paid to do this job, and I don't think that's doing our job the way we're supposed to do it.
You guys are micromanagers. That's what you're there to do. You're the what did Niemeyer always used to say? The master of the coin in his role as controller. That's your primary concern is the budget, and that's what you're there to do.
Yeah. Yeah, there were
So
in addition to those requests, there were also a lot of requests for added employees. And that's something we've always been really mindful of, to not grow local government. I mean, we're all Republicans. Every one of us are Republicans. We're supposed to be reducing government, not growing government. So that's something that's kind of like a hard no for me. I really don't want to add employees. And, hopefully the rest of the council members are with me on that. Honestly, not only do I not want to add employees, I would like to reduce some employees, not by eliminating anyone's jobs, but by when we have open positions, or when we have someone who retires. I think there's a good percentage of positions throughout the county that we could not fill those jobs and eliminate those positions. And then what I would like to do is take that money that we save from those positions and then spread it around to the employees that are left to increase their pay. That's my goal. That's what I want to do.
If you would, can you talk a little bit about what the you brought up something that obviously is was a big thing for me with what the judges are trying to do. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, I can talk a lot about it. I'll tell you everything you want to know about it. So give me 1 second. I'm going to take a drink of this here real quick.
You're fine.
All right. So the judges, let me preface this by giving you a little history lesson. Last year, we have an employee of the county who's been with us a long time, who's very valued. In fact, she's overvalued. She has become so integral to the county. She's kind of backed us in a corner. They've got us in a position where almost we can't be without her, right? And I blame us, the county, for putting ourselves in that position where we're that dependent on one employee. We should never be that dependent on one employee. Well, anyway, this employee wanted a significant raise last year. I think they wanted to go from 45 or 50 grand to about 80 grand. And the council was against it. So we're not going to do it. And the judges had come in. Judge Wolf made the presentation, and they said, this employee is so valued, they're so worth it. Well, what we said, we negotiated. People don't know this, but we as a council, we give the 5 circuit judges each a $5,000 stipend, right? Total $25,000. Yes. And you cannot, once we've given it to them, we can never reduce that without their permission. And the only time we can take it away is when a judge retires. Okay.
And real quick on that. That's 5,000. So once you give it to them, That's 5,000 every year, no matter what happens with the budget. You give it
Yep.
5,000 off the top. It's got to go to them. And just so people know, judges aren't 4-year terms; they're 6-year terms. So when you elect a judge and they're there for 6 years before they're up for re-election again.
That's correct.
Okay.
And
okay. Sorry. Go on from
and,
there. I just want to make sure people knew that.
and typically even more than 6 years. A lot of our judges got 20 years experience.
Oh,
so
yeah.
really they're going to be there a while. And so we said, I tell you what, if you believe so strongly in this employee, put some skin in the game. You forfeit half of your $5,000 stipend, and we as a council will kick in $5,000. So at the time, one of the judges had retired. So there were only 4 judges. They each kicked in half of their stipend, so $2,500 each, for a total of $10,000. The council kicked in $5,000. So that's a $15,000 stipend that we put in addition to that employee's salary. The reason we did it that way, we did not want to just increase that employee's salary, because typically what happens in government, 5 years down the road, 10 years, when all of us council members are gone, that employee leaves, and then the person who replaced them automatically picks up where they left off, and that's their salary. So we put it in a separate line item so we could control it a little bit. That was the compromise. Well, everybody lost their minds about that. People in county government, 500 county employees, people were absolutely pissed. And I got more calls over that. Than the mail guy, not doing any work all day. But that's a whole other story. But I got a ton of calls over this, and it is what it is. This person, we give them the money. Well, you fast forward to this year, right? And Prosecutor Hoffman comes through, and he all of a sudden wants raises for his deputy prosecutors. He even said in his briefing to us, he compared the fact that this employee was getting $70,000. That was the same amount or very similar amount to what his deputy prosecutors, who have 4-year degrees plus a law degree, were earning, right? So they were all offended by this. And, you couldn't argue with them. My argument was, though, that this isn't the time to do pay raises. We do that during a budget meeting. Well, I voted against it. I lost that vote. The rest of the council give them the pay raises. Well, now here we are at a budget meeting. Well, so this is what happens. We're in the pre-budget meeting on Tuesday. Judge Wolf's retiring. So instead, Judge Cannon gets up to talk. And he goes on, man, he talked for a while. He goes on and on and on.
So just real quick so people know, basically in Delaware County, we've got 5 judges. Like in Randolph County, there are 2 judges. And basically when you have judges like that, what they do is they elect a presiding judge who is kind of like the president of all the judges. And he or she's the one that goes in and deals with the council and deals with commissioners on things. So it was Wolf for a couple of years, I believe. I know that Dowling's been it before, but now it's Cannon. So Cannon came in to speak on behalf of all of the judges to you guys.
Yes, that is correct. And I'm glad you made that you distinguish that, because that is accurate. So he's there on behalf of the 5 judges. Now, Deputy Prosecutor, I always can't say his name right, Maywar, I believe, Doug Maywar, he got sworn in as a judge today. So he wasn't a judge on Tuesday when we had the meeting, but he's a judge now. So he was at the council meeting. He's sitting in the back. So Judge Cannon's there representing all 5 of them. And they've taken a vote. And so he says, before we get into the court's budget, I'd like to say some things. Well, he goes on this 40-minute rip talking about everything. And I think he kind of lost some of the council members, definitely lost people in the audience. Hell, I don't know what I was thinking about, but he was going on and on and on. And then all of a sudden I heard him say, he brought up this court administrator. And he was irritated at the criticism this employee received last year from fellow employees, county employees, who were irritated at this person making this much money. And I'm telling you, when I say irritated, people you wouldn't believe were irritated. All right. It wasn't just the low people. They were all mad, everybody. Yeah. And he said he thought it was embarrassing that this person had to go through that. And I agree with that to some extent. So he goes on, and he says, this year, we have submitted a budget. Last year we cut our stipend to $2,500 each, and Judge Maywar's stipend, we took that out, right? Because he wasn't a judge then. That's the only time you could take that $5,000 away. So we took advantage of a judge retiring. We eliminated that $5,000. The plan was each time a judge retires, we'll eliminate it, and eventually we'll get to the point where all of those stipends are gone, right?
Yeah.
So Judge Cannon starts talking, and he says, we want our entire 5,000 stipends back. We also want the $5,000 stipend for Judge Maywar. And in addition to that, we want this court administrator salary to be $80,000. For context, that salary is currently, now again, I don't have my book here, so I'm going off the top of my head. I think it's around $45,000 without those stipends. Maybe $50,000, I can't remember. Somewhere, it's around $50,000, call it that. They want $80,000. It's like a 47% increase. And again, people are still kind of lost at this point, right? Because he's been going on for a minute. And he goes, and by the way, there is a new state legislator passed a law that said that you can increase your local lit tax to pay for court administrators. So you have the means to do it. In addition to that, we as judges can order the salary of our court administrator and put it at the amount we feel is necessary. And we have taken a vote, and we have decided as the 5 judges that we are going to order you as a county council to pay our administrator $80,000 starting January 1st. And then he started to go into something else. And again, people are just kind of zoned out. And I stopped. I said, excuse me, Judge.
Like he was just, I think that was the plan. They're like, go in there and bore them to sleep for 30 minutes, slide that in, and then go back to talking.
Yeah, he tried to lullaby us to sleep a little bit. And I said, did I just hear you say that you have the authority to order us to pay this employee $80,000 and you are going to enforce that? And he said, yes, we are. We are going to issue an order. We will have it available to the council next week before the budget meetings start. I believe it was around that time. Now everybody's paying attention, listening. I believe Council President Piper spoke up and said, so there's no negotiating, in the form of a question. And the judge looked at her stone face and said, no negotiating. And then, without skipping a beat, it goes, but we would also like for you guys to give us those stipends back. That's totally in your control. So I'm going to strong arm you and order you to pay this person $80,000, but I want you to be nice to us and give us those $5,000 stipends back. That's how kind of I interpret it. So I kind of spoke up again and I said, I got to be honest with you, Your Honor. You're suggesting pay this $80,000. You're obviously going to order it. Because we're not going to agree to it. You're going to have to order it. And second, you're suggesting that we raise taxes to do it. And I said, I'm only speaking for myself. I can't speak for the other council members, but there's not a chance in hell that I'm going to agree to raise taxes. There's no way I'm going to raise taxes. I'm trying to get our local income tax lowered or in our property taxes. That's my goal this year, to lower the income tax, the property tax, the wheel tax. There's not a chance in hell I'm going to vote to increase the lit tax. There's just no way. And he said, that's your right to do that, Councilman Webb. But I just wanted to make you aware that you have that option and the means, the mechanism necessary to pay this employee this amount of money. So, yeah, that was the truth bomb of the day. We're going to be forced and ordered to pay $80,000 to an employee. That's almost double. That's almost double that salary. Now, let me put this in context. Currently, our deputy prosecutors with a law degree, 4-year college degree, are making $85,000. We don't have any department heads who make that amount. We don't have any elected officials that make that amount, with the exception of the sheriff and the prosecutor. This person doesn't supervise anyone. They're not a department head. They don't supervise anyone. They're literally one person who these judges have determined they can't live without. and they're willing to burn the house down in order us to pay them $80,000 from 45.
And how frequently does this person work? How, like regular 40-hour week or?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of people don't realize this. So if you work at like 911 or the county highway department, or if you work for like the correctional officer or a sheriff's deputy, your salary, we pay everybody based off of a salary. And then we break that down off of, an hourly rate, right? So if you're one of those positions I just named, you work at least 40 hours a week. Well, there's several people in county government years ago when they couldn't afford to give people raises. Somehow they need.
Well, that's
There you
fun.
are. There, we're back now.
There you
We
go.
good? That's okay. So what I was saying is a lot of people don't realize this, but many people in the county building and in county government, the recorders, the treasurers, these folks, they only work, and in the courts, they work 32 and a half hours a week, right? So
Right.
you got one guy working 40 hours, and that's what his salary is based on, and you got another person working 32 and a half hours. Now if you break down that $80,000 on a 40-hour or a 32 and a half hour week, it's like $47 an hour for a government employee, which is absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Nobody in their right mind thinks it's I don't want to take away from the employee. The employee's a great employee and a great person, but that's a ridiculous number. It just is.
Yeah, so that's what I want to say. This I've known this person for many years. She's a wonderful person, and look, I agree with the judges. I don't think that the various department heads or other employees should have been giving her grief last year during this process. That's something that if people wanted to talk to you guys about, or people wanted to talk to the judges about, that's one thing. But to give her grief is kind of ridiculous. The other thing about that is I remember Cannon had problems with this last year. I remember he said something about this last year. When they came in, I came to that meeting, and when people had said something about the about all of that, like the meeting before, he got up and spoke. I don't know if you remember that or not, but he got up and kind of admonished all of the employees then.
He did. Yep.
And so that I remember that. Well, then when you said that this happened this go around, like, look, I get. I mean, she's a valuable. Look, this is who you want to be in a corporation, right? You want to make them think that they cannot function without you. So,
right.
To her credit, good on her, I guess. But
well, I asked
your job. Go ahead.
Well, I asked at that moment. I said, "Well, if you're going to issue this order, who's to say?" Because last year she threatened us, or the employee threatened us to leave for a better paying job. And I said, okay, if you give this order for 80 grand and this person leaves, then what? Do we have the authority to reduce? I looked at our council attorney and I said, do we have the authority to reduce this dollar amount, the salary? And the council attorney said, if the judges do the order, the judge should have to reduce it. So I asked the judge, what do you say to that? And, he looked at the employee and he said, well, you're not going anywhere, are you? The employee said, no, I'm not going anywhere. And then, and I said, but let's just say if something happens out of their control, like God forbid they get sick or they can't work. Eventually, he got to the point where he said, if something happened and we order this and then this employee left, we would have an emergency hearing and we would adjust that salary. But they're still not clear on adjust it to what. Adjust it $5,000 down. What are you adjusting it to? So I think it's a real slippery slope. I don't like it. I sure as hell don't like being strong-armed. Last year in the council meeting when this was brought up, council member Ron Quakenbush brought it up when we were debating. We were arguing back and forth. It got pretty hot. And he said, well, Councilman Webb, the judge can just order this.
Yep.
And I said, let him order it. I said, then call their bluff, make them do it. Let them explain to the constituents of Delaware County why they sued Delaware County, because I'm not going to just agree to do it. And we ended up negotiating, and it didn't come to that. But Council Member Quakenbush, to his credit, did bring it up last year that the judges had the authority to do this. And they must have paid attention, because this year they're doing it. And my understanding is, I think we're going to force them to do it. I'm only speaking for myself, but I didn't get the feeling that anyone was going to voluntarily change their salary on their own. I think if it happens, it's going to have to come from an order. It's definitely going to have to come from an order for my vote. I'm not voting for it, flat out. I think we lost him again for a second.
Well, he's there. He's gone. I'm so sorry. So did he mention what that Indiana code is? Because I'd like to be able to read it, look and see.
He probably did.
Kind of loophole.
He probably did. To be honest, I think we were all so lost in the sauce and hypnotized by the long delivery. Hell, he could have told us where Hoffa was buried. I don't know if anyone heard it. I mean, that was a long speech. I mean, believe me, it was a long time.
Well,
so I don't know.
So, I mean, if they increase that salary, isn't there something in Indiana law that says that once a salary is increased to a certain rate, you cannot decrease it? So you've got this very valuable, very experienced employee in there, and she retires. And then you hire in a kid who's got 2 years experience, and you're expected to pay them the same value that this other employee had?
Well, that's a great question. That's a great question. I'm not sure about that, but just aside from that, I want you to think about something. Some of our truck drivers that say work for the highway department may have been working there for 25 years. They're making like $22 an hour. So I object to someone who's been working for the county for 25 years making $22 an hour, and then someone else making double that, more than double that. Now, this person's also worked for a long time in the county, but still, it just doesn't sit right with me. I think there's other ways. Like I said, if they want to pay her that money, have at it. Now, it's important to note there are positions, and this pisses me off as a councilman. There are positions that we have no control over their salaries. For example, the probation officers. Those salaries are set by the state. We can't touch it. There's like 9, 10, 12% salary increases in this budget for probation officers. There's nothing we can do about it. In fact, the chief probation officer wants to add like 4 employees. And that was my objection to him. I said, look, I get it that you need them. I'm having a hard time justifying adding 4 new employees whose salaries we can't control, right? It's hard for me to sign off on that when we have no control over what they make. In all reality, these should all be state employees. Everyone in the courts, the court administrator, the court, the prosecutors, the probation officers, they should all be. They're all doing state work. They should be state employees. We shouldn't have to deal with this as a county, but unfortunately, we do.
Well, and especially if they're giving authority to the judge to order the county council, you will pay this. Then, you have removed the separation of powers.
Yeah. Yes. Well, not quite. I mean, almost, but to an extent. But people got to remember those judges have to get elected too. Yeah, they get elected too.
If the judges if the judicial branch can order the legislative branch to do something, as far as daily operations go, then you're removing the separation of power between the branches of government. I understand the legislative branch, the judicial branch can come to you and say, that ordinance you passed, that's unconstitutional. It's an illegal ordinance. Get rid of it. That's different. That's part of their job, is the checks and balances. However, coming to you and tell you, you will spend this money this way, they're usurping your power as the legislative branch.
Well, and they're not unique.
They're
not I'm sorry, they're not unique. When Prosecutor Hoffman was lobbying us to give his deputy
Yes.
prosecutors raises, he did the same thing. He didn't follow through with it, but he threatened it, and he said, "Look, the state law says that I get to determine what I see as a reasonable salary for my deputy prosecutors to do my job, and I am telling you this is the number that I have set. And if you do not follow through with it, I will sue the county." He told us that. And again, my answer to that, which it always is when anyone tries to strong arm it, says, "Go ahead." But
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's some members of the council who get pretty nervous when someone threatens to sue us, and we lose all negotiating power. But the only recourse to situations like this is judges are elected too. People have to remember this, so they have to answer for their decisions. But yeah, you're right. I think they're crossing a line there that they should
There
worry
was
about
a
their
court
business
case in
and let us do our
2007
business.
where the state sided with the county to say that the county, that they have to work together with the judges to be able to do these salary increases. So there is case law on this here in Indiana.
Well, let me tell you this. I told you I've received a lot of phone calls about this. I received some phone calls from very high ranking, what's the word? I don't want to give it away. Employees
Sure.
or elected officials in Delaware County
Yeah.
who advised me, asked the question, how about what would happen if you as a council just ignored that order and just ignored it? And my answer to that was, I don't know. I mean, that maybe it has teeth, maybe it doesn't, but I can promise
I'll tell
you
you. I'll
that
tell you what would happen.
that would spook members of the council, no matter what.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what would happen. Can you hear me or not?
Yes.
Okay. They basically what would have to happen is, and that's what if we had 3 more people that had your balls on the council, you would do that, and this would be an amazing thing, because what would happen is you guys wouldn't ignore it. You would give her the raise you wanted to give, or treat her like you'd want to treat her. Do that how you would. You would ignore that. You would go along, and then she'd get paid her first check or whatever, and then they would have to sue you, like Hoffman said, and you would go to court and you would duke that out in court, and you'd have to argue it. Now, the problem there is, unfortunately, and it sucks, you probably would get beat, because currently how it is state law says that they can do that to you. So you guys would have to put on a case like, we just think that maybe you could get that overturned. But if you guys were really the council was really doing its job, it would do something like that. But like you said, you've got too many people that are too spooked and too chicken shit. They will not do that.
Now, I will say I asked the question to someone privately. Okay, what are our options here? Could we just eliminate that position? And I don't know the answer to that.
Woo!
I know we set the salary. We do the salaries and we do the job descriptions, but I don't know if we have the authority to eliminate a position once it's in there. But I'm trying to brainstorm this and think of all options. Okay, you made your chess move. What's our chess move? You want to order us to pay $80,000? What if we just cut that position? And I don't know. I haven't talked to our attorney about it yet. I was just bouncing that idea off someone that I know. I will say this: I'm not going to name the council members, but
Sure.
there were fellow council members. It's not just me who behind the scenes were rubbed the wrong way about this and weren't too happy about it, and we're open to figuring out different options. So I'm not going to say everybody was, but there were some, more than one.
Yeah. So that's, someone just asked what's going on. I'm trying to drive, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not in the studio. I'm in the middle of nowhere up in northern Indiana, trying to get to Napanee, Amish country, and trying to do whatever. I got a funeral in the morning, and so I'm trying to do this and drive at the same time, and it's a cluster. But Kate's helping me if I shut down or get too roboty. she's trying to help me out. Now she's trying to text me at the same time, and I can't read the text. I can't, Kate. I can't open that text and be on the video. But so let me ask you this: how do you feel that? How do you feel that the council was going on everything else on all of the other people that was not the judges?
Well,
On
I
everyone
got
else that was coming up, how do you think that was going? Maybe if you answered that already with Kate, that's fine.
no, I'm really excited to see how this is going to go because multiple council members ask multiple questions. And what happens a lot of times in these budget meetings and council meetings in general, you'll ask a question, someone will give you a vague answer. Maybe they'll dance around it. They'll give an answer, but it's not the answer. And a lot of times, council members are afraid or maybe they just aren't willing to say, he didn't answer my question. Let me ask you that again, right? And what I witnessed on Tuesday was specifically council member, or it was Jim, right? He was asking the questions. Council member Jim Mokel, he was asking the questions, and the person, whoever at the podium, would give an answer, and he was very polite. He was like, "Okay, I'm not understanding that, or that doesn't make any sense, or that wouldn't explain this, or whatever." And he pressed them harder, and he would press them again. And as a matter of fact, at one point, Commissioner Henry, Jim was asking the questions, and Commissioner Henry said, "Jim, you're asking or questions too early that we don't have the answers to." Something along that. I'm paraphrasing. You either said something about you're asking too many questions, or you're asking questions we don't have the answers to yet. And it was in reference to the addictions treatment facility. And I told a story right at that moment. I said, "Jim, when I was in private business, I used to ask my boss, I would say, 'Rich, why are you always asking me so many questions?' And he'd get pissed. He'd slam his hand down. And he'd say, 'Because that's where the answers are, Ryan.'" And that's what I told Jim. I said, "Jim, that's where the answers are. Keep asking your damn questions, right? Whether it's too early or not." So, but he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one. Everybody was asking questions. I was impressed.
I like that. I like to hear that you say that was happening. I feel like this council might be a little bit better in that regard. I definitely think I'm going to like Jim. I think Jim's a man, a businessman, and sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. Everyone always says, "Well, we need business guys in there." Sometimes that's good, and you'd think it would be good. Sometimes they get in there and they do the whole schmoozing behind the scenes, and they're too happy with kissing ass. But Jim is a true hardcore business guy, and I think he's going to make a hell of a counselor.
Well, a lot of people don't realize Jim's actually my neighbor. He lives across the street from me, so I've known Jim for a couple of years. And one of the things, he's my neighbor, and I didn't know this about him, but Jim is funny as hell. I mean, we all went to the state called county council meeting, and all 7 of us were there. We were only the second county out of 92 that had all 7 of us there. And it turned out to be an open bar. So after about 6 hours, we were all caked. And Jim's funny as hell, man. He had everybody cracking up. Yeah, he's a riot. He's great.
He's a good guy. I liked when they said that he was caucused in. I was like, okay. A couple people said some stuff, and I was like, yeah, I think he'll be all right. I think he's tough enough to. I think he's a party person to a point, but I think he's also okay with saying, I'm going to go my own way on this, and I think that's what I like about him. He's a self-made person. He's not. He don't need any of these people to make him anything.
Yeah, he's trying to find his way.
What?
I said he's trying to find his way in the early going.
Sure.
not trying to make too many waves, go with the majority, that kind of thing. But in these budget meetings, he's truly inquisitive and wanting to know the answers. And that's
Yeah.
what I was really pleased to see. Not just him, Councilmember Whitehead, Councilmember Cantz, Councilmember Hughes, they're all asking these questions. Mr. Flanagan, all of them are asking these questions. They want to know the answers to. So I think it's going to make the meeting a little bit longer, but it's good. I mean, you can't go wrong asking questions.
Hell yes. Absolutely. I mean, for so long, well, for the last 3 years, it's been you asking the questions. You may even, you're more than likely 9 times out of 10 knew the answer, but you would do that for the public's sake. And you could always see when people would like roll their eyes or huff or sigh. And it's ridiculous that they would do that, because that's what you're there to do. And you're going to get heat for comments that you're making now, and I can already hear it. People's gonna get up from the glue licking table and doing all of that stuff to make these just ignorant comments about you doing your damn job. It's like, you know what? I'll be honest, and this is not saying anything, but I shouldn't be praising you as hard for doing what you're doing, because that's just your job. But the reason I praise you so much for it in this specific position is because nobody else is doing that. So
yeah,
it's
well, I'm hoping it
refreshing to
changes.
get somebody that does it.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that, and I'm hoping that we're on a new path. I think we got a good team. You got to remember, our last council, those guys have been there. 3 people have been there all like 20 years, or at least in local government 20 years. These guys are all new, so I feel like we got a new path, at least in the short term. Hopefully they don't revert to being like some of the old school politicians. But and to touch a little bit on what you just said, people are going to say that. I seen the mailman, Mr. Jones, comment the other day on one of my posts, said that me and you was attached at the hip. I've not talked to you in 3-4 months.
It's been,
I don't know what he's talking about. But
I started this off by saying that you called. Yeah, I cannot understand. I've not seen him now since the whole big coffee cup ordeal, and back in April. He stayed clear, which is all the better.
Yeah, I've been laying low.
No, not you.
You're talking about Mike.
I meant to tell him. Since the attack with the coffee cup at the hearing, he had been staying low. I forgot you had a coffee cup incident too, kind of more like a month.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I tried this last year. That position that gentleman has been traditionally a part-time position. It doesn't need. I've got more calls from employees and emails complaining about this guy sitting around not doing anything for 4 hours a day. And last year, the council, as a favor, in my opinion, voted that position to be full-time, and I voted against it. And in my opinion, it was only made full-time as a reward for being a former councilman, to go towards those years to get a pension. And I thought it was garbage. It doesn't need to be a full-time position. So I am going to make an attempt in this budget, and along with several other positions, to switch that from a full-time position back to a part-time position. And I'm armed with the evidence that this gentleman has been sitting for hours in our council meetings multiple times when he's on the clock, supposed to be doing work on social media all day long. So I think I have enough evidence to support that this person doesn't work full-time, doesn't need to be a full-time position, and it's really nothing more than a political favor by making it a full-time position. I don't know if I'll get the votes to reduce it, but I'm going to try. And I'm also going to try to get them to turn down a lot. I don't know if we can do all of them, because some of the positions are one to add, like the jump program coordinator. That's a good position.
Sure.
But a lot of the other ones, I'm going to try to get everybody to stay strong on that, to say no to growing the government. We don't need to grow the government. We need to reduce government. We need to cut our taxes. We're all Republicans. We need to do this.
Yeah, right. It's ridiculous. Well, and I'll tell you about that position specifically. I'm floored that the position still exists. in today's day and age. I don't think that it needs to exist. I don't think it should. I was shocked when I found out that it went full time. But that's the number one thing. This man is getting paid full time, essentially to be a spy, to be the eyeball, and for I'll just say it, in my opinion, I believe for the commissioners, he wanders around the courthouse and the government buildings and comes and sits in the meetings. And that was my first question. And he's always told me I'm not on the clock when I'm in these council meetings. Look, it was one thing when the council meetings, when he was at the county building and you guys had council meetings, but now he literally has to get in a county truck. Is it a county truck?
Yep.
Then he
drive
drives
to another building. Yep.
And drive to another building with county gas and sit there and watch it for maybe your meetings go 2 hours long, and then drive back during the workday, and that is insane.
I mean, when you add it up, let me just put this in perspective. You got an employee. We got one employee who. Are you there?
Yeah.
See, this.
Can you hear me?
You got an employee. Yes, I can hear you. So,
yeah, go ahead.
And people may say, "Oh, you're just saying that because you don't like the guy." I could care less about that guy. I'm looking at it from a business perspective. I have one employee who has traditionally had a part-time job. He did it just fine for years, part-time. Now he's full-time. He spends hours up here on meetings. He's on social media. He's assaulted citizens on county property while on county time. He's been accused of hit and run in the county vehicle. All of these things, to me, is enough to go, come on, man. Like, this isn't necessary. It's clear this is a political favor, nothing more. In my opinion, I think if I'm correct, I think you have to be a county employee for 10 years to get your pension. He was an elected council member for 4 years. I think this is nothing more than an opportunity to get a pension. Stay full time, ride out a couple of years. That's just me speculating. I don't like government waste. I don't like doing political favors, giving people jobs because they used to be somebody. Keyword used to be somebody. But
right.
It's a waste if you ask me. But hey, I'm one guy out of 7, so I'll do what I can do.
I hear it. I hope that I hope the others see it. When do the county council budget meetings start off?
I'm glad you asked that question. So this is very important. There is a public comment portion that starts from 8:30 to 9. We start on Wednesday. Okay. We're going to be going for like 12 hours on Wednesday, but the public comment portion is from 8:30 to 9. So if you've heard something that I've said that you, maybe you're frustrated with and you want to come and speak to the council, you have that option. Traditionally, the budget meetings are not a typical council meeting where there's public comment. Really, there's not even public input from the department heads. This is us working through this budget, right? And it's a very casual scene. You'll see when you watch it on TV. That's actually one of the reasons why so many were against it being live streamed in the past, because it's so casual. And after 5 or 6 hours, you kind of let your guard down and you just become who you are, right? And politicians don't like doing that. So if you want to have a comment, you can do that. You can come in, and then I think at the end of the day, Jessica will announce what time we'll start the next day, but it's probably around the same time, around 9 o'clock. So
I'm sorry. We did have a couple of questions that came up earlier in the show from people.
Sure.
I wanted to make sure it got addressed. Does Delaware County have a policy where if you pay for an employee's training or certifications that stay with the employee, and if they quit within a certain time frame, they have to pay back those costs?
Well, that's a good question. And off the top of my head, I can tell you I'm unaware of that, but I will tell you this. Totally unrelated note, but I think somewhat similar. I'll give you an example. When we gave the ARP bonuses, the retention bonuses, when we the prosecutor gave his guys stipends. I warned against paying those out up front because I said if we give them the money, they're just going to quit. And sure enough, a large percentage of people took the money and quit. I was reassured at that time, well, if they do, we'll make them pay it back. Well, we found out real quick, there's no legal means to make them pay that back. Yeah, you could go to court, but it's going to cost an arm and a leg. So they just write it off. So to answer your question, I don't know if that's a thing, but I can tell you what the best practice is, Delaware County. They're just going to let it ride and chalk it up and say, well, that sucked, but they're not going to go after that person. If they haven't in the past, if they do start doing it, I got a whole list of people who took ARP retention bonus money and quit that I would love for them to start with.
I think what you would have to do in that case is you wouldn't be able to do anything from this point back. What you'd have to do is you'd have to make policy that you would, going forward, if you bring someone in and you got to train them for, 4 months or 6 months for a position, or like for law enforcement, if they go to the academy, they got to work 3 years. And if they don't, they've got to pay for something.
Well, it falls under the same umbrella because I mentioned that
like when the contract for that employee.
Well, when we've talked about trying to recruit employees, part of the problem we were losing officers to lateral transfers. And I said, can we not make it a requirement when they get hired on that they have a non-compete clause, which is kind of similar to what you just suggested, Chris, in the beginning, have them sign a contract, whatever. And I was told that there's no way for us to enforce that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I know lots of companies do it.
Okay. And then the other question that we had in the comments about the budget meetings was, what are your main areas of concern in this budget that you think will benefit the citizens?
Well, if I get my way, the tax cuts. I have requested from the auditor's office. I want to know the total amount brought in last year for the wheel tax. And then of that wheel tax, how much is going to the highway department for paving? And I want to see the line item in the budget because that money is supposed to go to paving. I've requested the dollar amount for the property tax and what the percentage is set. And I've asked for the dollar amount that we collect for the county income tax and what that percentage is set. And my goal is to reduce those taxes, make cuts on other parts of the budget to offset that, and potentially move some taxes around. You got currently the property tax and the, for example, the property tax and the income tax. Those are targeting homeowners and workers, right? Where right now, the state sales tax is 7%. We have a county sales tax, but it's set at 0%, right? Theoretically, you could set the county sales tax at like 0.1%, and then you could cut the property tax and you could cut the income tax and then spread the burden on all county residents through a 0.1% sales tax, and the money would be the same. But you're spreading around where everyone's sharing the burden more equally instead of only targeting those who are working for a living and those who own their homes. I don't like the idea of someone owning their home, potentially losing it to a stupid property tax. We can't eliminate it, but we can cut it a little bit, and that's my goal. As far as the other stuff, public safety. The best benefit to the citizen is the public safety. The prosecutors put in a request to hire 2 new deputy prosecutors. The sheriff is putting in requests to purchase new police cars, and we're trying to increase the pay again for the safety workers, including the 911 dispatchers and correctional officers and deputies and stuff. So that will benefit the community as well. For safer community.
Very good. Yeah. What I cut out just a little bit when you first answered the question. That's my fault. If you did this, please forgive me. But you said that you told us what time the budget hearing started at 8:30. On what day? Is it Tuesday?
Wednesday, yes. Wednesdays
Wednesday.
they
So
start
not
at,
the date.
yeah.
Not okay. Is that the 6th?
I believe so. Yeah, it's Wednesday,
Wednesday the 6th?
Thursday,
Yeah.
and Friday. Yes, sir. Yeah. And I'm actually going to
Yeah,
be,
it
my
is.
wife's having surgery on Tuesday, so I'm going to be with her all day Tuesday, and then taking care of her as she recovers through surgery. And then she's on her own on Wednesday, Thursday, and
Yeah.
Friday, because I'm going to be in budget meetings for like 14 hours.
Yeah. Well, I hope everything is going all right with that surgery.
No.
And we'll definitely keep her in our thoughts and prayers for that. Let's see, is there anything else that you can think of before we wrap up?
Well, I would like to say that this is pretty important, and I think anyone who wants to watch these budget meetings should understand. About a month or two ago, the commissioners made the decision to stop live streaming on Facebook. Okay, so all of those of you who would always watch the commissioners meeting or the council meeting on Facebook, they've done away with that. Now what they do is they live stream it, much like Chris does on his show. They've switched to YouTube. So if you want to watch those budget meetings live, it's on YouTube. They will later on upload it to Facebook, but if you look, that's why there's no comments on Facebook, because it's not live. People like to comment when it's live, and so you need to go to Delaware County Government on YouTube to watch the live stream meetings. Now, something happened last commissioners meeting. I'm not sure what it was, but for whatever reason, the commissioners decided to go back to the Facebook live stream for just this last commissioners meeting. A few days later, we had our council meeting, and they had us back on YouTube. So I don't know what the hell's going on with it.
I know
but
I hate them doing that bullshit. You can live stream to both at the same time, and I don't understand why they don't do that. Because right now we're live streaming on YouTube, but we're also straight live streaming on Facebook. Guess what? We're also live streaming on Twitter.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I like to think it's a growing pain as we're working our way through this, but I honestly, I couldn't tell you. I've not heard from the commissioners as to why they've made that decision. People speculate why they made that decision, but I don't know. I preferred it on Facebook. I think it's easier. I've always been an advocate of meeting the people where they are. And, a lot of people are on Twitter, a lot of people are on YouTube, but for whatever reason, this little pocket of the world in Delaware County, a lot of the people here are on Facebook. Not as many people. I mean, I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram. A lot of people around here aren't. Like, I don't see them there. They're on Facebook. So I think we should meet the people where they are and do everything we can to bring them that access. And so hopefully people will transition over like they transition over to watching your show. We'll see. We just got to keep letting them know that's where it is.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. I'm going to try. I've never done that long. I've Facebooked for 12 hours before, but I have never done anything through YouTube or through this service for 12 hours. I'm going to try to snip the feed from them like we do periodically, and if we can live stream that to our channel too, I'm going to do it. See what we can do. I just want to put it out there. My thing is getting it out there in front of as many people possible, and having, if one person sees it extra from Delaware County, then it's a plus in my mind. And they don't see that. They don't understand that. I think it's ignorant. It is what it is. But yeah, so I'm going to try to share it if we can. I got to see what that looks like.
We did have another question come in.
Yeah.
Homeowners are becoming extinct in Delaware County. Do you have any plans on increasing homeownership and
Ooh.
bringing the statistics in line with the state's homeownership statistics within Delaware County? And then they had a follow-up comment that Dan Ridenhour is destroying the homeowner numbers in Muncie, and we need an equalizer in the county level. So,
Well,
answer that.
Well, the thing with rental rates and things like that with homeownership is, I had this theory on making an impact on low income housing. I've shared it with a couple people. I've shared it with Chris before. The state of Indiana has rules and laws against any local municipalities instituting any type of ordinances against rental regulation. For example, if you've ever been in New York has rent controlled apartments. You have the same old lady living in an apartment for 40 years next to Times Square. She pays $400 a month, right?
Yeah.
They don't have that in Indiana because the state legislature won't allow us. Now, I've had this theory. I've pitched it to Chris before, and I have this idea to make more affordable housing, not necessarily home ownership, but affordable housing, which I think could lead to home ownership. And I'll just give you a quick rundown of it. For example, most people, when they think, I'll use the example of recently the mayor wanted to build the apartment complex on West 12th Street, right? Say it's like 500 units. They're all low income housing, right? Well, all the neighbors may speak up and they say, oh, I don't want low income housing in my neighborhood. You're going to depress my home values. And that's going to lower my property value and things of that sort. What I would like to do, if I was in charge, I would like to organize a program that would incentivize all apartment building owners, right? Anyone who owns an apartment building, or if you wanted to build, you couldn't force it, but you could incentivize. If you wanted to build let's say a 100 unit apartment complex, I would incentivize you to make 10% of those rental units low income housing, 10%. So if there's 100 units, that would be 10 units, right? And say you rented them for say $1,200, I want to rent them for $500. They're rent controlled, and then I would take. I think we figured it up. You could do like 80 something apartments for like $1 million or something along those lines at that rate. And the mayor could take $1 million of his economic development income money, right? And he could take and subsidize those apartments. So the landlord would still get the full $1,200, but the tenant would only pay $400 or $500. So the mayor would take that economic development money and subsidize the other half. What you allow that to do is, number one, you don't have the property value decrease amongst that. The other thing you do is, if you do that in multiple apartment buildings throughout the city, you are spreading out the low income housing amongst the entire city. Nobody knows the guy living in the building next door is low income housing. You just know he lives in your building, right? So if you don't have them all in one corner of the city, you don't depress the property values in those neighborhoods. So those values raise up. That means that's more property tax revenue that the city and the county collects. That will offset the $1 million that the mayor's putting into it every year from his economic development money, from the increase in property taxes, from the increase in the property values. You use this theory. If you step on one nail and the nail goes through your foot, but if you spread that out, you can step on it. There's an old trick, waterbed salesman. You could put a waterbed on 4 Dixie cups, right? Right.
Yep.
If you put it on the 4 corners, it supports the weight. You put those same 4 cups in the center, it squishes them like a bug. So the idea is you spread them out throughout the city, and you use economic development tax money or income tax money to supplement the apartment owners to do that. That was my theory behind it. That's just a rough. There's a lot more details to it. I know people like Mike Jones and him will try to rip me apart, saying I don't know what I'm talking about. There's a lot more details to it. I'm just giving you the rough, quick estimate of it. And if you ever want to sit and talk with me about it, I'd love to go over the plan. Chris, you're aware of it. I've talked to you about it before. You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Well, and the thing with that is, like you said, there's a lot more that would go into it, and you know what? Maybe you've got a piece wrong here or there, and it would need to have some work out here. It's a rough plan right now. Maybe it would need some working out and reworking here and there. But the idea is you're thinking through processes that, trying out new shit, and that's important. And it just seems like none of that stuff ever works. What we do for economic development is we buy buildings for far more than they worth. We rent them back to people for $1. We then pay the utility. We pay to send a dog to Switzerland. That's our economic development plan. We give money to our secretaries to start businesses and shit like that. Economic development.
And we have Don McLean come visit the city.
Don McLean's coming. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I love it. I cannot wait. Horrible. For what was it? $85,000. We're going to hear American Pie sing by an 85-year-old. Good God.
See, so that $85,000 that you just said. So
yeah.
Imagine what I was talking about. If you subsidize what I was just talking about, a person's apartment, that's $6,000 a year per person. You're looking at, what is that? 13, 14 apartments. You could take that $85,000. You could subsidize their low-income housing and spread them throughout the city. You could put them in, what's that downtown apartment? It's supposed to be those luxury apartments. They're like $1,200-$1,500. You could put them in there, and that's what I'm saying. You don't depress the local, you don't depress the property values because they're spread out all over the city, right? So you could have took that same $86,000 and made a difference for an entire year for that many people. So imagine if you did $1 million and you got 10 different apartment buildings on board with this program, right? You could run it through the trustee's office. They already do stuff like this, and you spread it in all four corners of Delaware County. There's definitely an option there. You just got to be willing to try it out. And the apartment owners would love it because that ensures they're going to keep their occupancy at 100%. No one's going to want to lose their apartment that they're getting it at half the rate. So I mean, there's a lot of benefits to it if you're willing to work through the small details.
Sure, yeah. It just takes coming together and trying. You gotta start having a plan to get from point A to point B. We didn't allegedly land on the moon just by saying, hey, we want to allegedly land on the moon. Apparently somebody had an idea somewhere. Someone needed to pick up the phone and call Stanley Kubrick. Good God. All right. Anything else there?
No, I just appreciate you bringing me on, give me an opportunity to go over the budget meeting. I will say this to everybody. I know most of you watching have at some point seen a clip of a county council meeting, maybe you've watched the whole meeting. I'm telling you, you've got to tune in to some of this budget meeting. You've not seen anything like this. This is nothing like any council meeting you've ever seen. This shit gets intense. People get fired up. They get.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, nobody stormed out and thrown a chair yet, but it gets intense, man. And this is where you get to see is your representative fighting for the things you want them to be fighting for. Are they rolling over and putting money in departments to help their friends out, or are they fighting to put the money in the departments that you want them to put them in that you find important, like public safety, police department, things like that? This is your chance to see that. Find out who's fighting for you, and it's a good battle. It's very entertaining.
Absolutely. And no matter what goes on, it's going to be absolutely amazing content for the next several weeks. Are we there? Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Anyways, it'll be good for the show for those of you that have been wanting some Muncie, Delaware County content, because inadvertently somebody will say something stupid. Hopefully that stuff's done. Last year we had people talking about hate and transparency, and we had some people saying just absolute crazy shit last year. But they're always good for some content, no matter what happens. Even if we don't live stream the entire 12-hour meetings for the 2 or 3, 4, 5 days they have them, we will definitely hit the broader points each day. We'll talk about all of those. We'll break it down. We'll talk the highlights, the lowlights, and the kind of everything in between. if there's anything big during that time, we'll bring Ryan back on. And before we came on tonight, Ryan talked about wanting to come on at another point and talk just kind of about things that have been happening in Delaware County. We've only had, for everybody that says, oh, Ryan and Bilbrey are attached and blah, 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 Ryan's only been on twice. This is his second time he's ever been on, ever. And so, it's not like we've got some kind of big grand cabal. I'm not over at his house right now drinking. He's an elected official like the rest of them are. And lo and behold, I talk to all of them. There's a small percentage of elected officials that I don't talk to. Even the ones I don't like, for the majority, at times we talk. So I talk to all of them, and Ryan is one of them. So I do want to have him back on again and just kind of talk about things that have went on in Delaware County over the last 3 years. This is your first, you're in your third year now. Next year will be your fourth year. You will be up for re-election. I assume you're going to run for re-election. I assume, but we'll have to wait and see what you now.
Say.
But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what goes on. But we'll definitely like to bring you back on then, and we'll see what happens in this budget session. This is the most important. It's simultaneously at one time the most exciting, most boring, and the most important meeting or government process for the county all year long, because it's the budget, it's what's going to happen, it's what sets the tone for all of next year. It's boring, it's hard to sit through for people. It's also interesting. It's definitely it definitely can get intense, all wrapped up into one package. So I highly recommend people checking it out. Again, it is on the it'll be on the Delaware County, Indiana YouTube page. Even if we don't live stream it, each day I will put the link on my social media pages, and I will put the link in the community page of YouTube, so people will be able to find it all next week, even if we don't live stream it. But then at the end of each session, we will do a review at 9:00 in the evening. So you guys will hear what's going on, and you'll see all the best bits and pieces. But you should check into it as well.
Well, the other day you had mentioned about the sorting everything out, and what people got to understand is this is the one time you get to see your elected government hashing it out, going over every dollar of this $50 million budget. When the city does their budget, the mayor does his own budget, and he turns it into the city council, and they may make an edit here or an edit there, but they don't have 7 people grinding it out hour after hour. I fought 2 years ago for 30 minutes trying to cut $5,000 out of a $150,000 postage budget, and I lost that argument. So you see real debate and people making their arguments. So it's something that doesn't happen in, I don't think, any other locally elected government at all. I don't think nobody else does this.
Well, I'll give it. I'll say it even further that your own council doesn't do this at any other point. The majority of the time, it's either 7-0, 6-1, or maybe 5-2. But most of the time, people's in agreement. Everything's kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. Everybody's basically on the same side, unless you're fighting against something here or there, but or fighting for something here or there, and no one else is, whichever way that falls. Hopefully now you might have a little bit of help with some of the other new people. But yeah, this is the one time that the council, like you said, I think they kind of forget that they've been in there for so long, and they kind of let their hair down, and you see people kick their feet up, and you get to see the warts and all. So it's definitely an interesting time.
Absolutely.
So
I will say, if I could say real fast,
Yeah.
Chris had said a moment ago about, this is my third year. I'm technically up for re-election next year. Now, no matter what happens next year, I'll still be councilman throughout 2024, all the
Yeah.
way till the end. I know that's a kind of a surprise. Some people aren't really aware of that, how that works. But I'll tell you this: I'm not tipping my hand just yet. A lot of people expect me to run for re-election as a councilman. I'll tell you this: if I run for re-election, it'll be for a C, but I don't know if it'll be a councilman. It'll be one of three things. It'll either be as a county councilman, as a county commissioner, or as congressman. One of those three
Oh,
things. So
well,
we'll see what happens. We got feelers out. We'll see what happens. I appreciate all of your support and all of your feedback. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I appreciate all the feedback you guys give me and all the support and love you give me. I love all of you as well. Thank you.
well, very good. Yeah, I appreciate it, and I'm thankful for you coming on, and we will see how the meeting goes, and we'll go from there.
And Chris, I appreciate you bringing me on, and I appreciate what you do for our community. What you do as the watchdog of the community and keeping people informed. It's a very important role. I know a lot of elected officials get a little pissed off if they find themselves under your spotlight. It is what it is.
Yep.
You bring a lot of value to the community, and I appreciate what you're doing. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, and yeah, it's we need more people in more communities doing the same thing everywhere. We need government accountability, and so yeah, I appreciate that, and we'll see what goes on. Thank you, sir, for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Everyone have a
Yeah,
good
no
night.
problem. All right, folks, that was Councilor Ryan Webb of the Delaware County Council, and I literally just pulled into my spot, like literally at the end of the show. We've got like wonderful reception now. You can actually see me. It's amazing. I cannot believe that I literally pulled in here right at the end of the show. I am so sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for how this episode went. I am so thankful for Kate stepping up to the plate and doing the job for me when I was in the dark. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. Today's been a day. Tomorrow's a funeral, which those are always loads of fun. Um, and let's see. What was I saying? Sorry about that. All right. So anyhow, yeah. Tomorrow is Friday. We'll have the funeral. You can't have yeah, man, you got a funeral to attend. Yeah, first thing, man, you can't have a funeral fun without a funeral. Is that how they say it? You can't have fun without a funeral. You can't have a funeral without fun. Something like that. So we got that going on tomorrow. I will be home tomorrow afternoon, and we'll be going from there. I will not be on air tomorrow unless something just absolutely crazy goes on, but I am hoping it won't be because I need to get some more housekeeping done with the channel. I need to get some stuff going. I need to get some more. I have the racist sheriff phone call rant that's just by itself that I'm going to put up and put on the channel. And then I've got some things we're working on, and next week we'll start knowing about candidate interviews. Brando, we're going to be without Brando. Yeah, Kara and I talk kind of frequently. I don't know why I was dumb and didn't even share that with her. I did send her the links So she has them, and she sent me a thumbs up. So she has those. I text them to her, and we work fairly closely and fairly good together. So hopefully she might like something she sees there and see something. The big announcement is Sunday night we have the Shirley police officer, Officer Roger Humphreys, will be on Sunday, working on a couple big things. Wednesday we will have Ashley Grogg on. She's going to be loads of fun. We have the budget stuff going through that we got to work through. We will have the what the hell, the other thing we're gonna have? Budget, Ashley. The candidate interviews are gonna start. And what I was saying a minute ago was the one and only Brandon Rudd, Brando. I was want to let you know, if you all ever see me, sometimes I don't call him Brandon in writing, and everyone's like, you forgot the N. I'm like, no, I call him Brando. Brando is going to be not on the show for just a moment. He's got something that he is working on, and it's going to put him out of commission until I want to say the 18th of September, the 18th to the 20th of September. So I don't know what that is, but yeah, the reason I was saying that he's going to be gone is because I talked with Rainwater the other day, and I was wanting to schedule Rainwater to come on here like in the next week or so, and then I remembered Brandon's not going to be around, and so I want to schedule it because although I love Don and I would gladly talk to him, I want to have Don on. I want to do the show that we did not get a chance to do for you all. So I want it to be Brandon and Rainwater one-on-one, those two guys talking, hashing it out. It'll be a good show. But don't hesitate to check Rainwater stuff out in the meantime. Donald Rainwater, rainwater4indiana.com. You can check all of that out. And keep in mind, besides what we're talking about, Donald Rainwater as the campaign is on our schedule already 3 times next year. He's on the schedule for sometime in February, I believe, then sometime in June, and then again in October. So we've already got him on the calendar for next year 3 times. And I'm sure we'll have him on a couple more times in between then. But then we will have him on the show when Brando gets back. Never fear. Also, when Brando gets back, we're going to kick off a brand new thing on this channel that we've never done before, and I think it's going to be quite exciting. It's going to be in the static video section. It'll be just videos that we record and upload. It will be government politically related, and it should be something that at least most of you will like, and hopefully it will bring in some new people as well. So you'll have to check that out. Brandon will never get that weed whacker broken if he keeps missing it. I know. No problem. Delaware County Councilman Ryan Webb, Karen O, Yoko Duo. I know it's sad. It's going to be horrible, but we'll survive. We'll survive. We'll get through it together. So thank you all very, very, very much for tuning in tonight and putting up with the mass chaos and confusion. I am so sorry. I want to apologize to Councilor Webb for my rudeness with my phone situation. I want to apologize to producer Kate for having to put up with that, doing the show. You know, what will you ever do without me away this night? And I was going to say something else, but I won't. I want to thank and apologize to all of you guys for watching and putting up with this stuff. And then other than that, go from there. So you guys have a good night. The postscript, hey, like, share, subscribe, do all of that stuff. Help. We need to get the views. We're killing it on views, but we need to get the subscriptions up. We're doing really good. We're banging away strong through, but we know what we need to do. Share, and do that thing. So the postscript for tonight is, I think I may have said it earlier. You can't have fun without a funeral. The only other thing I want to say, I think we had a couple of new people in here tonight, didn't we? A couple of people we've never seen in here before. I know that there was a Jason I'd never seen before. Hello, Jason. And then the other one was Whitney W. Oh, no. Oh, Whitney W. That W stands for, I think Whitney W used to be Jim White. Jim White, when Jim White came in and said I last night, Jim White came in and said I. So I think that I messed Jim's thing up and he came in as Whitney. Whitney now identifies as Whitney. Jim now identifies as Whitney. Judy and Trudy and everyone else. So for that, I'll say I. And then lastly, just let everybody know an IP address is different than an API address. Good night, everyone.